Hello students, this is your English lesson. In this lesson, we are going to read a story, The Winged Monkeys, unit number 12 from Oxford Reading Circle 5. Let's get started. There was no road between the castle of the Wicked Witch and the Emerald City. They knew they must go straight east toward the rising sun, and they started off in the right way. But at noon, when the sun was over their heads, they did not know which was east and which was west, and that was the reason they were lost in the green fields. They kept on walking, however, and at night the moon came out and shone brightly. So they lay down and slept soundly until morning. The next morning the sun was behind a cloud, but they started on as if they were quite sure which way they were going. "If we walk far enough," said Dorothy, "I'm sure we shall sometime come to some place." But days passed, and they still saw nothing before them but the scarlet fields. The Scarecrow began to grumble a bit. Grumble? Complain again. "We have lost our way," he said, "and unless we find it again in time to reach the Emerald City, I shall never get my brains, nor I my heart," declared the Tin Woodman. "You see," said the Cowardly Lion. "Cowardly? Lacking courage," with whimper. "Pain. I haven't the courage to keep tramping forever, tramping to walk, especially long distance, without getting anywhere at all." Then Dorothy lost heart. She sat down on the grass and looked at her companions, and they sat down and looked at her as if to ask what they should do next. "Suppose we call the field mice," she suggested. "They could probably tell us the way to the Emerald City." "Yes," cried the Scarecrow. "Why didn't we think of that before?" Dorothy blew the little whistle the Queen of the Mice had given to her. In a few minutes many of the small grey mice came running up to her. Among them was the Queen herself, who asked in her squeaky little voice, "What can I do for my friends?" "We are lost," said Dorothy. "Can you tell us where the Emerald City is?" "Certainly," answered the Queen. Then she noticed Dorothy's golden cap and said, "Why don't you use the charm of the cap and call the winged monkeys to you? They will carry you to the city of Oz in less than an hour." "I didn't know there was a charm," answered Dorothy in surprise. "What is it?" "It is written inside the golden cap," replied the Queen of the Mice. "But if you are going to call the winged monkeys, we must run away, for they are full of mischief and think it great fun to plague us. Plague, a contagious bacterial disease." "Won't they hurt me?" asked the girl anxiously, in a worried manner. "Oh no, they must obey the wearer of the cap. Goodbye," and she scampered out of sight with all the mice hurrying after her. Dorothy looked inside the golden cap and saw some words written upon the lining. These, she thought, must be the charm. So she read the directions carefully and put the cap upon her head. "Ip, p, pup, p, ka, ke," he said, standing on her left foot. "What did you say?" asked the Scarecrow, who did not know what she was doing. "Hello, hello, hello," Dorothy went on, standing this time on her right foot. "Hello," replied the Tin Woodman calmly. "Zizzy, ziz, zuzzy, zik," said Dorothy, who was now standing on both feet. This ended the saying of the charm, and they heard a great chattering and flapping of wings as a band of winged monkeys flew up to them. The king bowed low before Dorothy and asked, "What is your command?" "We wish to go to the Emerald City," said the child, "and we have lost our way." "We will carry you at once," replied the king, and no sooner had he spoken than two of the monkeys caught Dorothy in their arms and flew away with her. Others took the Scarecrow and the Woodman and the Lion, and one little monkey seized Toto and flew after them. Seized, grab. The Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman were rather frightened at first, for they remembered how badly the winged monkeys had treated them before. But they saw that no harm was intended, so they rode through the air quite cheerfully and had a fine time looking at the pretty gardens and woods far below them. Dorothy found herself riding easily between two of the biggest monkeys, one of them the king himself. They had made a chair of their hands and were careful not to hurt her. "Why do you have to obey the charm of the golden cap?" she asked. "That is a long story," answered the king with a laugh. "But as we have a long journey before us, I will tell you about it. If you wish, I shall be glad to hear it," she replied. "Once," began the leader, "we were a free people living happily in the great forest and doing just as we pleased without calling anybody master. Perhaps some of us were rather too full of mischief at times, flying down to pull the tails of the animals that had no wings, chasing birds and throwing nuts at the people who walked in the forest. But we were careless and happy and full of fun and enjoyed every minute of the day. This was many years ago. There lived here then a beautiful princess who was also a powerful sorceress. All her magic was used to help the people, and she was never known to hurt anyone who was good. Her name was Galette, and she lived in a handsome palace built from great blocks of ruby. Everyone loved her, but the greatest sorrow was that she could find no one to love in return, since all the men were much too stupid and ugly to marry one so beautiful and wise. At last, however, she found a man who was handsome and manly and wise beyond his years. Kolala, as he was called, was said to be the best and wisest man in all the land, while his manly beauty was so great that Galette loved him dearly and hastened to make everything ready for the wedding. Hastened, be quick to do something. My grandfather was at that time the king of the winged monkeys, and the old fellow loved a joke better than a good dinner. One day, just before the wedding, my grandfather was flying out with his band when he saw Kolala walking beside the river. He was dressed in a rich costume of pink silk and purple velvet, and my grandfather thought he would see what he could do. At his word, the band flew down and seized Kolala, carried him in their arms until they were over the middle of the river, and then dropped him into the water. Kolala laughed and swam into shore, but when Galette came running out to him, she found his silks and velvet all ruined by the river. The princess was angry, and she knew, of course, who did it. She had all the winged monkeys brought before her, and she said at first that their wings should be tied and they should be treated as they had treated Kolala and dropped in the river. But my grandfather pleaded hard, for he knew the monkeys would drown in the river with their wings tied, and Kolala said a kind word for them also, so that Galette finally spared them on condition that the winged monkeys should ever after do 3 times the bidding of the honor of the golden cap. Of course, my grandfather and all the other monkeys at once agreed to the condition, and that is how it happens that we are 3 times the slaves of the honor of the golden cap, whosever he may be. "What became of them?" asked Dorothy, who had been greatly interested in the story. "Kolala, being the first owner of the golden cap," replied the monkey, "was the first to lay his wishes upon us. As his bride could not bear the sight of us, he ordered us always to keep where she could never again set eyes on a winged monkey, which we were glad to do, for we were all afraid of her. This was all we ever had to do until the golden cap fell into the hands of the wicked witch of the west. Now the golden cap is yours, and 3 times you have the right to lay your wishes upon us. As the Monkey King finished his story, Dorothy looked down and saw the green shining walls of the Emerald City before them. The strange creatures set the travelers down carefully before the gate of the city. The king bowed low to Dorothy and then flew swiftly away, followed by all his band. That was a good ride, said the little girl. Yes, and a quick way out of our troubles, replied the lion. How lucky that you have that wonderful cap. Exercises. A. Right or wrong? 1. Why did Dorothy and her friends want to go to Emerald City? Answer. Dorothy and her friends were traveling to the Emerald City to find the brain of Scarecrow and the heart of Tin Woodman. 2. Can you explain why the winged monkeys agreed to help Dorothy and others immediately in your own words? Answer. The winged monkey agreed to help Dorothy and others immediately because they had vowed to fulfill 3 wishes of the wearer of the golden cap. 3. Compare Kolela's response to the joke that winged monkeys played on him with Gallet's response. How and why were their responses different? Answer. Kolela's response was very different from Gallet's response because he was a man wise beyond his age and Gallet was very furious as she loved Kolela extremely. B. Reference to context. Read these lines from the story and then answer the questions. 1. She lived in a handsome palace built from great blocks of ruby. A. Who is being described? Answer. Gallet, a beautiful princess who is also a powerful sorceress. B. What do people think of this person? Answer. Everyone loves her because she uses all her magic to help people and never hurts anyone who was good. C. Which details in the story tell us that this person is rich? Answer. She lives in a palace built from blocks of ruby. Her fiancé is dressed in a rich costume of pink silk and purple velvet. 2. The old fellow loved a joke better than a good dinner. A. Who says these words and to whom? Answer. The king of the winged monkey says this to Dorothy. B. Who is the speaker describing? Answer. The speaker is describing his grandfather. C. Write the sentence in your own words while keeping the same meaning. Answer. The person loved to play a trick and laugh more than he loved a good meal. Words and meanings. 1. Say the charm that Dorothy recites. Ap, p, pup, p, kuk, k, hello, holo, hello, zizze, zizze, zik. 2. These are words that can be used to describe speech. Use them in sentences of your own. Said. Nana said she would bring the basket. Grumbled. Wakar grumbled about the amount of homework given. Whimpered. The puppy whimpered after being hit by a stone. Answered. The cat went out of the window while Tim answered the door. Asked. Mimi was asked to draw an elephant. Declared. The 2 states declared war against each other. 3. Use each one in a short sentence. Anxiously, she waited anxiously. Brightly, the stars shone brightly. Carefully, he opened the package carefully. Soundly, the baby slept soundly. Badly, she made the bed badly. Easily, he found the pen easily. Calmly, she answered calmly. Swiftly, she moved swiftly. Happily, we sang happily. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.